Welcome to Social Media College's Masterclass on the best social media marketing strategy for 2025. My name is John Tanner and really looking forward to running you through this. We want to be thinking already about what do we need to do differently to get the results that we're after. Firstly, I just want to talk about who this is for because there are certain groups I think this presentation is going to apply to more so than others. Firstly, small businesses and those that are greater than 10,000K per month. You might be struggling to grow to over $100,000 per month. You might be experiencing inconsistent traffic, leads, or conversions. Maybe your organic socials are going sideways. A lot of people are experiencing this and reporting it. So far this year, they're struggling to get the same traction that they used to get with their organic social media marketing, but they still believe in social media marketing. They know that it is the most effective platform on the planet, bar none, to scale the sales of a business or help an organization to achieve its objectives. Most people in this phase are feeling a little bit frustrated, stressed, or short on time, and really struggle to afford a good agency or staff that are able to help them with this side of their business and at the same time lack the skills and confidence to do it themselves. Or potentially you're a medium-sized business and you're stuck around that $1 to $2 million revenue per annum. You're looking now to scale to even greater heights, go up to that 5 to 10 mil per annum. Most business owners who are in this phase tend to be in a very demanding role, or maybe you're a senior marketing resource in one of these organizations and similarly have a very demanding role, expected to know everything, not just about social media marketing, but digital marketing as well. You've probably had some success with paid ads, but not as good as you would hoped. You know you can do better. Maybe feeling a little bit confused, overwhelmed, unsure as to what is the next step, what you need to do differently. And funnily enough, cash is quite tight, despite the fact that the business is established, it's making revenue. Cash is tight, and you need to invest those marketing dollars quite wisely. And the final thing here is that we get a lot of people coming to us and they say, oh, look, I've tried 3 or 4 agencies or resources before, but just can't seem to find the right partner, the right individual or agency or internal resource to work with. And they're just wondering what it is that they're doing wrong or what do they need to do. And here's the thing with social media marketing, you can hugely increase your brand awareness. If you look at Facebook alone, there's over 3 billion monthly active users. It is an amazing platform to increase brand awareness, get the word out there that you exist. It's amazing for customer engagement. You can have these one-on-one conversations, and you can also really pinpoint your exact market with great audience targeting, which ultimately will deliver you more consistent traffic, more leads, more conversions. And that's going to rapidly scale any business in a really cost-effective way. We can get a much higher return on our marketing spend. And what that does in a lot of cases, when you get this right, is to generate the cash to solve a lot of operational challenges. One of the things I see a lot, particularly with those smaller businesses, is they tend to get distracted by a lot of operational things when they need to be focused more on the marketing and the sales, because once you are bringing in that cash can solve a lot of those operational challenges that a business has. What happens when a business starts performing off the back of great digital marketing, not just social media marketing, but digital marketing overall? It really helps to improve your confidence. It certainly makes it a lot more enjoyable. And you really take pride in what you're doing as opposed to feeling those emotions of frustration and overwhelm. And ultimately, that delivers your business and personal goals, which is fantastic. A little bit about SMC. We've educated over 27,000 students. We're going to do another count on this because we believe it is now much higher. We're partnering with a number of global platforms to deliver our courses. So they've been pushed out across about 156 different countries. There's a selection of some of the awards that we've achieved since we've been in operation. If you want to check us out online, we've got hundreds of 5-star verified reviews from verified customers. A little bit about me. I'm the co-CEO of Social Media College. I'm also the author of the Diploma of Social Media Marketing, which is Australia's only formal qualification in social media marketing. I've previously been awarded Social Media Educator of the Year. And for our direct side of the business, I'm a course host. I'm a coach to a number of businesses and also facilitator in these masterclasses and also the courses that we have. I've been around now, I think in the industry, over 15 years, and I've worked literally with every single type of business, and that experience puts me in a really good position to advise you on what's coming up, what you need to do differently. Let's dive into it. Social media strategy in 2025. I want to talk about 5 things today, and I'm going to start with the foundations. I suspect that if I did this at the end of next year and the year after that, I'd probably always start with this stuff because you know what? You can always jump on the latest trend, but if it's not underpinned by some really, really solid foundations, then typically it's going to be quite fickle. It might be short-term and you're not going to get the long-term results that we all aspire to. What are these solid foundations? Well, firstly is pursuing a niche market. A niche market is a smaller subsegment of a larger market. Where a lot of people go wrong is that they try and be all things to all people. They try and tackle much larger competitive markets. When you think about a niche market, they tend to be less competitive. They're easier, faster to learn. The sales levers that you need to pull, you can develop stronger customer relationships. You can write better copy because you understand your customers better. It's usually simpler. You're going to have greater focus. You're going to know really clearly what the acquisition cost is, how much it costs to acquire one new customer. It'll lower your marketing costs. And usually you can charge more as well because you become a specialist. And I always use the example of a knee surgeon. If you bust your knee, you don't go to a GP to do the operation. You go and find a specialist knee surgeon who is able to fix your knee. And you usually pay a premium to that individual because it's a real problem that you have. And businesses are the same. They're looking for people to help them, whether that's a consumer or other business that's looking to solve their particular problems. That's ultimately why people buy products and services or engage with an organization. If you are struggling to compete in your particular industry, think about how you can niche down, how you can narrow your focus to a smaller subsegment of a larger market in order to ultimately get more cut through on social media. You also be able to collect more social proof and usually get better word of mouth referrals as well. The second concept is increasing average order value and lifetime value. For those of you who've been with Social Media College for a while, I talk about this stuff all the time. Average order value is the average cart size if you transact online, or even if you don't transact online, it's the average order that you might take over the telephone or over email, however it is your organization goes about selling. So we can increase the average order value using things like upsells or downsells or bundles at the point of purchase. Lifetime value is the value of a customer over a lifetime. I tend to prefer to look at a 12-month period because really we want to be generating a lot of cash and we want that return as quickly as possible so we can use the cash to invest. I used to look at a much longer horizon. I brought that in, even though it's not technically lifetime value, I really look at it over a 12-month period. And lifetime value, you can use things like email marketing to encourage future purchases. You can offer complementary products, new offers. So let's look at an example of this. Let's say you sell lawnmowers. Your upsell for that to increase the cart value could be an irrigation system. They buy the lawnmower, you know they're interested in lawns, and therefore you try and sell them an irrigation system. Not everyone's going to take that, but a proportion will, and that will get the average order value up. And maybe a downsell to that is some fertilizer. More expensive thing is the irrigation system. Downsell is the fertilizer. You could also add a complementary product like a lawn leveler or maybe even a gardening course or something along those lines. You bundle these things together. We're trying to increase the average order value at the point of sale, but then if they don't purchase then, we continue to offer complementary products over time. Why is this important? Well, let's just say your lawnmower is $300. Then your maximum acquisition budget, how much it costs you to acquire one new customer, is $150. Through these combination of strategies, if you can get that lifetime value up to, say, $600, $700, then all of a sudden you have a much larger acquisition budget. Maybe you're willing to spend $300, $350 to acquire that one new customer. Whoever can spend the most money wins is ultimately the key point here. We want to make sure that we get AOV and LTV up so that we can outspend our competition and ultimately capture more market share. The next thing is an audience persona. This is always a solid foundation. The reason being is that we want to understand our customers better than anyone else does. The audience persona is just a fictional representation of our ideal customer. It's going to help us with everything. One of the most important things now is as a base prompt that you can put into an AI tool like ChatGPT, for example, and it's going to train the AI tool on exactly who it is that you're targeting. And that will help it write better copy, potentially create better images, but also understanding your customers is going to be really valuable for things like your paid social ads, your headline, your text, social media video scripts, your bio, captions, replying to comments, the text on the button. The more that you understand your customers, the better you're able to write the words that persuade them. It'll also help you with things like creating a great strategy, choosing the right content, what format that content should be in. things like what the content should be about. It'll help you develop lead magnets that resonate with your audience. It'll help you choose the best social media platforms to be on, and lots of other benefits. So developing an audience persona, profiling your ideal customers is super, super important to being successful with social media marketing. You want to collect social proof. Social proof is the content that you put in front of people that backs up the claims that you make about what your particular product, service, message, or whatever it is that you're offering actually does. You're reinforcing it by saying, hey, look, we say that we can deliver these outcomes, and here's some proof that we can actually do it. Social proof comes in lots of different formats, things like video testimonials, written testimonials, customer quotes, customer data that you can put in front of people, partner logos, media publications you've been featured on, user-generated content on social media, number of social media followers that you have, number of social media views that you have. There's lots of different ways that you can prove you have credibility in a particular domain. But not all social proof is equal. I think at the top of that list, genuine video testimonials that you can collect from customers who have received a great outcome from your product, service, or message. And also verified online reviews are really, really valuable because people use these. Everyone has been ripped off at some point along the way online, and they're looking at the credibility of organizations to assess whether or not they can trust it ultimately. So we want to make sure we can collect as much social proof as we can. And we can use it in lots of different locations. We can use it on social media. We can share it in some of the content that we have. We can use it in our ads. We can use it on our landing pages and our website and in our emails. There's lots of places we can use that social proof. Still remains incredibly important. Then the final one in this is to define your USPs and your risk reducers. So a USP, unique selling point, is what makes you special. Is it that you have the lowest price, or you're the most convenient, you have the widest range, or the best customer service, or fastest delivery? You get the idea. Think about what makes you unique. Why would someone buy from you as opposed to someone else? Or why would someone take the action that you're asking them to take as opposed to not taking that action? Think about what makes you unique, what makes you special, what makes you stand out. Define those things and make sure it's everywhere and it's consistent across not just what you're doing on social media, but the post-click experience, what they do once they leave social media and they find their way onto your email list or your web assets. And then finally, risk reducers. Think about the stuff that you can do to minimize the perceived risk of buying or taking action, a guarantee or free returns, bonuses, free trial, free shipping, etc. These are called risk reducers. They reduce the perceived risk of someone buying or taking action. We want to be defining those things as well. Underpinning all of this is now AI, because we have an incredible array. In fact, we just did a whole 6-hour workshop on creating content with AI. And we went through things like written AI tools like ChatGPT, audio tools like 11 Labs, where you can dub your own voice or use text to voice for voiceover for whatever application you want to use. Image tools like Midjourney, video creation tools like Runway, or video editing tools like Descriptor or Opus Clip. There's this huge array of tools out there that you can use that will ultimately help to accelerate what it is that you're doing. And the benefits that AI can deliver include completing a task faster. You're going to get more done, or both. You're going to improve the quality of the content that you are creating. You're going to be able to generate strategic and creative ideas. People never thought that AI would be this good at coming up with creative ideas, but it's actually very good. And it is a great source of inspiration. It doesn't mean you take it exactly as it provides to you, but it's a great starting point for those, particularly who aren't necessarily that creative. All of this is going to help you to save money on things that you used to have to spend a lot more money doing, help you to deliver greater personalization. You're going to be able to analyze that data and continually optimize and ultimately improve audience engagement. If you're not using AI as part of your social media marketing, now is the time to get into it. Next thing I want to talk about is focus on your funnel and follow up. And the reason I use the word focus is because so many people still are just hyper-focused 80 to 90% of their time on getting people doing what they're doing on social media to try and get them off platform, but they're not paying any attention to what people are doing post-click once they leave the social media platforms. And there is this huge untapped potential if you can increase the percentage of people that are taking the action that you want. We need to make sure that we have a really robust funnel, and also that we have in place a strategy to follow up with people that do leave the social media platforms. And I want to talk about the audience stages. For some of you, you're probably sick about hearing it, but it's such a fundamental marketing concept, not just for social media, but overall for your marketing of your organization. Most people are only marketing to people down here in the decision stage. And those are the people that are ready to buy. They have a strong demand. These are typically people that are going into search engines. They know they have an issue. They need a new pair of shoes, and they type in brown leather shoes into Google because they are ready to buy. But it's a small percentage of people, and that you tend to exhaust that audience. There's a much, much larger market up the funnel in the awareness stage who don't even know they have a problem. They're just doing something in a certain way that they don't know that there's a better way, or they don't know that there's a better solution. Consideration, they kind of realize they have a problem, and they're now starting to look for solutions. And this is where you can show them the category that your product sits in is a solution to their problem. And then conversion stage, they're now comparing different products or services that are able to help them solve that particular problem. And they're much larger markets. And typically the way that we measure how someone moves through these different buyer stages is things like through play, whether they watch 15 seconds of one of your videos, but you can also look at things like video views, page likes, follows. Consideration stage, where there's a link click, someone clicks on something and visits one of your web pages, or potentially something else like an instant form. Page view, video view, engagement. From the conversion stage to the decision stage, usually they move into this stage when you capture their email address. This is the first time we're really asking them to take some firm form of action, which is to cough up their email address so that they're in your email list as well. And then the decision stage into becoming a customer or a user or a member, this is the conversion where if you transact online, it's a purchase. But depending on how you sell, it might be a sales lead, or it might be a new user, or a free trial, or setting up a new account. Every business is different, and they all have a different action that they're trying to achieve ultimately, the penultimate action before they become that customer, user, or member. How does this look in terms of a conversion funnel? Putting this into actual application, typically it works like this. You're doing a bunch of activity on social media, whether that's trying to grow your Instagram account or grow your YouTube channel. And you may also be running some ads. And ultimately, we're trying to get people to engage with our brands on social media, whether that's to write a comment or to watch a video or to save a post. It doesn't really matter. We're trying to get them to somehow interact with our brand on social media. Then we want them to leave social media. The irony of what we're doing is we're spending all this time on social media trying to get people off social media and onto our web assets. Then we want to drive them to what's called an opt-in page, where we're using a lead magnet, some sort of content offer to try and capture their email address. We can use now inbuilt instant forms if we're using paid advertising formats, or you might have a web form that you're using. Lots of different ways you can capture an email address, and lots of different lead magnets that you can offer. Knowing your customer, as I was talking about earlier, will help you to develop really good lead magnets, because you'll be able to work out exactly what appeals most to your audience, because you'll understand your audience better than anyone else. Then we're driving them through the sales page. Once we've kind of got their email address, you don't have to have an opt-in page. It's not essential. Some businesses just go straight to the sales page. Even if you don't sell anything, let's just say you're a government organization, we still call it a sales page. It's a page that pretty much promotes whatever it is that you offer, whether that's a product, a service, a message, or some sort of other action that you're trying to get people to take. We don't necessarily have to have a page. This can be a page on our website, or it can be a standalone landing page, or it could be one of these pop-up forms that are embedded in the social media platforms as well. Then this is where it kind of differs. If you transact online, you might have a checkout. If you have some sort of other funnel, it might be a thank you page because you've captured their details and a salesperson's going to call them, or you might have an upsell page, downsell page, lots of different variations to there. And the first thing we need to do is to make sure that we have this in place. We want to make sure that we understand how people go from being complete strangers to ultimately taking the action that we want. We need to kind of map this out. We need to draw it out and understand how people move through this journey. We also need to understand that some people, in fact, most people won't do the thing that we want, say 80, 90% won't. Or at this sales page, you're probably getting like 90, 95% won't do this thing, sometimes a lot higher depending on your organization and your industries. We need a way to follow up with those people with ads. And these are retargeting ads, whether people hit this page and opt in or they don't, whether people hit this page and take the action that we want or they don't. We want to have retargeting ads that drive them back to that page, so we get a greater percentage of people coming back and doing the thing that we want to do. We also want to make sure, for those that we do capture the email address, that we have some email automation, an email sequence, a series of emails that we're sending out over 7, 10, 14 days, 21 days, however long you want that sequence to be, that is nurturing people, that's talking to them, introducing your brand for the first time, taking them on a bit of a content journey to ultimately drive them to this page to do the thing that you want them to do. We want to be retargeting and email sequences. That's your follow-up strategy. Now, If we were running paid ad campaigns, the engagement campaign up the top is typically called an awareness campaign, where we might run a video or a couple of videos, a couple of ad variants, and these videos are about introducing our brand to people for the first time. We don't really need that anymore thanks to a lot of these advancements. Things like Meta's Advantage Plus shopping campaigns do this as part of other campaigns now as well. And as I mentioned right in the beginning, we're really talking to small to medium-sized businesses here. And awareness campaigns tend to be reserved for larger organizations. Not in all cases. For example, we have working with an organization that is trying to increase sell-through with large grocery chains. And for them, an awareness campaign would make sense. But for the vast majority of businesses, you don't really need these awareness campaigns, or you're not generating sufficient revenue to justify spend on an awareness campaign. Similarly with consideration campaigns, we don't really need to do this anymore, because now if you set up the metadata tracking correctly, or data tracking using any of the other social media platforms, you can combine this into one campaign. You don't really need that consideration campaign anymore. And then your decision stage campaign is now combined as well, where it's doing both the retargeting and sometimes the cold prospecting as well. Bit of an ugly slide, but hopefully the animations releasing everything one by one makes sense. Bringing this back to what the second step was, I think at a bare minimum, every organization should have a web funnel that's mapped out, and that involves an opt-in page, a sales page, and then whatever it is that final page is, thank you page, checkout, and so forth. One lead magnet, one piece of content or some sort of offer that is really compelling to people that they're willing to exchange their email address for. And we talk about this thing called the mere exposure effect. And this is that in the old days, it used to be 4 to 5 touch points that people needed before they had enough trust, before they had enough confidence in people to buy from that particular organization. Now they estimate it to be 45 to 50. That's going to vary according to your price point and your industry, but you get the idea. Because of this proliferation of content, what has happened is that people need much more exposure to a brand in order to have the trust to move forward with it. The reason why we invest into an opt-in page and we invest into a lead magnet is because email marketing is virtually free except for the cost of the software. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the benefits of email marketing coming up. But I don't know about you. I would much rather have a majority of those 45 to 50 touch points in email where it's free than continually pay one of the social media platforms to access their audience to have those touch points with people. You've got to do that anyway because you've got to appear in lots of places. But ultimately, we want to try and get people into our email list, and we can use different times throughout the year to monetize them. Black Friday is a really good example of that, where organizations can monetize their audience by offering something really, really enticing and getting them to act, despite the fact someone's been on their email list for a while. Ideally, make that lead magnet evergreen. And what I mean by that is you don't want to create something that expires in a month or two, because you're just going to be on this treadmill of constantly creating lead magnet. Think about what appeals to your audience. If you're an e-commerce brand, what works really effectively is like a big discount off their first order, or it can be an ebook or a webinar. It can be lots of different things. Just think about what would your audience most value and give it to them in exchange for their email address. One automated email sequence, minimum 7 emails. And the reason we have this is because if you set it up, it's like building a robot. You've only got to do it once, and it's just going to continually serve you instead of having to do it manually every single time. It's done based upon when someone first opts in. So it's very personalized to each new member of your email list. It's just a really, really effective way to build confidence and just introduce your brand to people. We want to make sure that once people get through that email sequence, we're getting the email campaigns out, 1 email per month. And we want to have those paid ad campaigns as well. I look at this list and I go, is this really the list for 2025? And the reality is I have had enough time talking to small and medium-sized business owners and marketers working in those organizations to know that the vast majority do not tick every box on this list. I'm sure there's some that do. Good on you. But I suspect most still don't do this. And so I think this is the core stuff. We have to get this right in 2025. Next thing I want to talk about is getting your strategy right. Making sure that we don't just go onto social media and we just throw mud against the wall and see what sticks, that we're not constantly chasing fads and seeing someone doing something on social media and going, oh, I might try that for a month or two, and then realizing it doesn't work and then jumping on something else straight away. It's really, really important that you get your social media strategy right and you lock in for that strategy. So what is a good strategy? Well, it's not overly complicated. we want to know what it is that we're trying to achieve. What are your goals? You want to set some objectives, make sure they're smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. You can't say, I want to grow my sales, because you can't measure that. How much do you want to grow your sales by? And when you want to grow that by, and what's the metric you're going to use to measure that? Really, really important to have smart goals. Otherwise, you'll never know if you've achieved what it is that you set out to achieve. Who are you targeting? Talked about that audience persona, but really clear on what it is. And this can be based on each of your different goals. Organizations, particularly medium-sized organizations, will have multiple marketing objectives. Maybe you're trying to increase sales of your online store, you're trying to increase sell-through at some of your wholesalers, and you're also trying to increase your social proof and increase your followers. You can have multiple objectives, and you might have different audiences for those different objectives. Where are you marketing? And I'll park this for the time being, because I think that I really want to have a discussion around what's changed and how things are changing, and why it's really, really important to narrow the scope of the social media platforms that we're on. What sort of content are you going to create? Really nutting down and knowing what content you're good at, what content you're capable of making in a decent volume and sharing, particularly on your organic social media platforms, but also understanding the need for a variety of ads that we run. We can't just have one ad, because we run into this thing called ad fatigue, where people are sick of seeing the same ad over and over again. So we've got to have a variety of formats, variety of different topics in our ad content as well. What ads will you run? Just really understanding where paid has a role in your organization. Again, I'm going to park this because I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. I think this is the real crux of what we're talking about today. How will you measure if it works? What are going to be the KPIs to measure whether it works? How much is it going to cost? You can have the best social media marketing strategy in the world, but if you can't afford to implement it, it's not a good strategy. You got to go back to the drawing board and work out what you need to change to make sure it is achievable. And then finally, how will you make it happen? Having a really, really good strategy is going to put you into great stead for next year. When we're choosing our platforms, and there's a 10 major, you'd probably add Threads in there now as well, to be honest. It's a logo that's missing. You want to consider things like, who's your target audience? What's your platform's reach and features? How aligned is the content that you make? If you're an organization that's really got a lot of video content, then share a lot of video content. A university and you've got a lot of academic research papers, then share written content. Think about what's aligned to your organization. Brand alignment, what you're trying to achieve, what your resources are. If you don't have the resources to create a lot of video content, then don't create a lot of video content, and vice versa. Successful case studies, social media trends, and how long the content lasts. If you share a video on YouTube, it can last for years, whereas some of the more sugar hit platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, your content may only last for 2-3 days. So think about what it is that you're trying to achieve, and also where is your audience. If you're a local-based business, it doesn't make sense to use YouTube, because YouTube's going to hit a much more global audience. So think about considerations like that. One of the things that is really, really important to call out is that Facebook's now over 3 billion users. Meta are the dark blue ones there. You can see WhatsApp's 2 billion, Instagram's 2 billion, and Messenger is close to 1 billion. So they own 4 of the top 7. And despite what anyone tells you, Facebook is still incredibly relevant. And I've just got a couple of stats here. 45% of Facebook's audience is under 34. Facebook is hands down the best source of traffic, and it just absolutely dwarfs the next biggest, which is Instagram. Facebook tends to be the best way to drive traffic. And then finally, organic reach for Facebook is incredibly low. So when we're coming back to our platform selection, from a paid advertising point of view, it is very, very hard to go past Meta. When I start working with a new organization, it's typically the very first thing that we start to look at to go, how do we increase our paid presence using Meta? Unless you have a very specific audience, say they're a younger demographic, potentially they're on TikTok, or you have very specific objectives, potentially brand awareness objectives, you might go to something like YouTube. But in the vast majority of cases, Meta is the ad platform that you want to go to. And the other great thing about that is once you master Meta advertising, you will find that using the other ad platforms is relatively simple. In addition to that, we are very pro being discoverable on Google. Some of your organizations will have what's called a long sales cycle. where you may come into someone's orbit at a particular point in time, but they just don't have demand for what you do. Going back to the lawn mowing, right? Potentially you're a landscape gardener and you share some content and it catches someone's interest and they follow your account. It may not be until 5 years later that that particular person all of a sudden now has a demand for a landscape gardener. So you need to keep in contact with them, maintain that follow-up. And hopefully at that point, they don't jump into Google and search for you. They come directly to you because they've seen so much of your content and there's all that trust and brand authority that you've built up over those years. But what can happen is that they can't remember the name of your brand, or for some reason they go into Google. At that particular point in time, if you're not discoverable, if people can't find you when they go looking for you, what ends up happening is that they end up in the hands of your competitors. Depending on your industry, your business size, etc., there is often an argument that you need to at least have a base search engine marketing strategy in place to make sure you are discoverable, that people can find you when they go looking for you. Next up, drive growth with paid ads. This is probably the biggest change that I've seen over the last 18 months. I've kind of called a tipping point. We were on the edge in 2023, and I think 2024 is definitely the point at which I called it to go. For the vast majority of small to medium-sized businesses, organic is no longer realistically a viable strategy for you to use in isolation to help grow your business. I don't want to talk you out of it. We're Social Media College. There is an incredible opportunity even when you get organic social media marketing right. However, what I have seen and what I've experienced is that most small and medium-sized businesses do not have the resources any longer to get it right. And also now the ads and the ad platforms have improved. It's just got to a point where what you're actually investing over here from an organic social media marketing point of view is almost more than what you're getting in just investing going straight into paid advertising formats. Some of the limits of that organic social media marketing is that it usually takes a very long time now. You get uncertain reach. There's no guarantee that even if you create some content you think is really, really engaging, that people are going to respond to that. Often just going to the wrong people. Go back to that local-based business. If you're a local-based business and you've got 10,000 Instagram followers, if 9,800 of those Instagram followers are outside the geographic area that you're targeting, it's great to have that social proof. It's great to have that indicator that people recognize and like your brand. But ultimately, all of our marketing should be driving outcomes, real business metrics, because eventually you will give up or you'll lose support from above for whatever it is that you're doing if you're not driving those real business outcomes. You get a limited amount of data. It pains to say to people, organic social media marketing is not free. The way that these platforms work is that they give you access to their audience if you create content for their platform that engages their users. Because if you engage their users with content, those users stay on the platform longer and they also come back to the platform more often. And that ultimately means the social media platforms make more money because they've got more ad spots to sell. It is not free. Don't call it a free platform. The payment that you make is content. And now the cost has gone up because they've now said, if you don't create a lot more content and you don't create much higher quality content, then we're not going to give you the same reach that we used to. You're beholden to the algorithm, and they have, across a lot of the social media platforms, turned it down considerably. We saw this happen with Facebook. It used to be 20%. It's now 2%. Instagram used to be up around 12, 14%. It's now probably down around sort of 4 or 5, right? And there's a whole bunch of research out there. It's gone up a little bit thanks to TikTok, got a little bit more competitive, but TikTok's starting to turn the dial down as well. They all have this bait and switch type strategy where initially they offer you a lot of organic reach and they attract a bunch of people onto the platform to create content on that platform. And then they turn it down and they push you onto those paid advertising formats. If you're a large organization and you've got someone who can focus on this and do what it takes, create really high quality content on a very, very consistent basis and really engage with the community, absolutely you can make organic work. What I've seen is that so many businesses are just banging their heads against the wall. They've spent 12 months trying to grow these organic platforms and they're just not getting anywhere. Does that mean you completely stop organic? No, I'll talk about that in a second. We're just now using organic a little bit differently to the way we used to, which was all about awareness and driving those business metrics. We're going to now use it primarily as a conversion tactic. Paid ads. It's immediate. You get guaranteed reach. You pinpoint your target market. You get very granular data. You can leverage some amazing AI tools that are available now, specifically with Meta, who is miles in front of all the other ad platforms in terms of the advancements that they have, with the exception of Google, but slightly different proposition there. And also you're in full control. The downside, of course, you do need to risk your ad budget. However, there are strategies that you can employ to really minimize that risk to ensure that you don't lose money, but you do things in a really controlled way and you only scale up your ad spend at a point in time when you know that it's working and you know that there is a bigger opportunity there. And I've been talking about these market trends that have made paid advertising a lot more enticing than it used to be. The first is creators. Over the last couple of years, we've just seen, I would say it's in the millions of creators, people working full-time creating content and sharing it organically. You're not competing with these people in terms of the products or services or the actions that you're trying to drive, but you are competing with them for the attention of users in the feeds. And you've got to understand that that's who you're up against. These people working full-time doing nothing but creating content and creating content really well for social media. That's what you're up against if you're playing just the organic game. AI has meant that now people can create a higher volume of content because either some of the more administrative things like writing a YouTube blurb or whatever that used to take up a chunk of your time can now be done pretty efficiently by AI, which means you can focus more on the media that you're making. But also a tool like Opus Clip, you take one long form video and you break it up into lots of short form videos in about 5 minutes. I think the quality and the quantity of content now, thanks to AI, has also increased in addition to creators. You've got the short form video revolution where each social media platform used to have its own nuance. Twitter was all about tweets and Instagram was all about images and Facebook was all about live moments and YouTube was all about long form video, but everyone's got into the short form video game now. And that's both a positive and a negative. It's a negative in the sense that that space is taking up a lot of people's attention and becoming extremely competitive. But on the other hand, it provides an opportunity because you're able to take one format that you never used to be able to do. You used to have to reformat it for each social media platform. Now you can take one format and you can share it across all those different platforms. Simpler AI-driven ad platforms. There's been some amazing advancements in this space where instead of you as an advertiser having to try and work out all the levers that you have to pull to run an effective, profitable ad campaign, a lot of those options have been taken back off you. And the ad platforms said, actually, we've got AI now. We've got this machine learning engine that just gets smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter. And even though you think you know what the answer is, we actually know better. And we're going to take back that control off you. And in amongst all that, you've got declining organic reach. Again, I'm not trying to talk you out of organic. There are plenty of people out there who have driven businesses doing nothing but organic. I'm just trying to say to you, if you're new to this or you are struggling with organic, it's wise to reflect on some of these market trends and understand why that's happening. And potentially 2025 is the year that you change tact. And this graph really says it all. By 2029, $406 billion is going to be put into social media advertising. If social media advertising was an unprofitable way to grow a business, why would this number be increasing so quickly and capturing so much share? And the reality is, if you go to those large businesses, they're doing organic, but that is not driving revenue. That is not driving actions. A government organization, they're not achieving the conversions or the actions that they want people to take using organic. They're doing it using paid ad formats. And so if you behave like a startup, you'll always be a startup, right? We need to start behaving like large organizations. The other thing to talk about is that setting up a campaign on an ad platform is certainly getting easier. It is just nowhere near as complex as it used to be. Things are changing rapidly. We did a meta ad workshop, and while we were doing the workshop, we were doing a walkthrough, and there was a new feature that rolled out literally the day of the workshop that we were doing it. They don't tell anyone these new features. They just roll them out and expect you to, on the fly, try and work out how it works. But overall, campaign setup is definitely getting easier. The challenging thing now is ad creative. Because a campaign is getting easier, what it's meant is that we need to focus more on an ad and the content and think about the messaging and what format we're using and how that piece of ad creative is structured and the CTA that we're using, because it is more competitive. We're going back to old school marketing where you really have to sit around and think very, very closely about who your audience is, what's going to resonate with them, and how you deliver that. But in a social media way, just taking a TV ad and slapping it on social media, it doesn't work. And this is why we are so pro using creators for your paid ad formats, because like I already said, these people are full-time social media content creators, and you can pay them not that much money to create a piece of ad content for you that you're going to get a very long lifespan out of. Anyone who's on social media needs to be better at creating lots of different ads and keeping that going, because you can't just create an ad and share it and expect it to last forever. Question I often get asked is, how much budget should I be putting at the top of the funnel versus middle of the funnel? Well, I think now you only kind of need those two campaigns. You need your decision campaign and your conversion campaign from a paid advertising point of view. 80 to 90% of your budget needs to be down at that decision stage campaign, because it is, if you're using the right campaign type, doing some awareness advertising for you as well, which is great. And then you should always be spending probably at least 10% of your budget trying to grow your email list. Your email list is yours. No one can ever take that away from you. It's an owned asset. And on a user by user basis, you can see whether someone's clicked or opened it. You can't do that with ads. If all you do is invest for the short term, then you're going to have to keep investing for the short term. But if you've always got an eye on the long term, building up a really large engaged email list, over time, you actually find that you should comparatively spend less. Talked about some AI tools, an incredible Advantage suite AI tools like Advantage Plus Shopping, App Campaigns, Advantage Plus Audience, Advantage Plus Catalog Ads, where it's synced with your Shopify, pulls it in, uses the content that you've got on your e-commerce store for the ad content. Super efficient and just amazing. Advantage Plus Creative, where they automatically enhance some of the creative that you have. Advantage Destination, where it will optimize where it sends people on your website to make sure that they take the action that you want. Advantage Plus Placements, where it just says, look, let us work out where to show the ad, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, etc. It will just automatically do that now. And also Advantage Campaign Budget, which it will dedicate budget to the ad set that will deliver you the best returns. I just wanted to recap a slide that I showed in our how to rapidly increase your ROAS. And of those initiatives that we put up, saying these are the 7 most impactful in our opinion in terms of improving your profitability of your paid ad campaigns. 5 of those 7 are things that occur off platform. This goes back to what I was talking about with the conversion rate optimization, which is really, really important to understand, that we need to be thinking that, yes, we need great ads, and yes, we need to be getting the ad settings right. But the stuff that really makes a difference is improving your offer, what it is that you offer people when they leave social media platforms, targeting that narrower niche, doing some conversion rate optimization on your web assets, implementing those AOV and LTV strategies, and contacting leads faster and for longer, which doesn't necessarily apply to all businesses. But a lot of the way that we focus on improving our social media marketing is on platform, is on Facebook, is on Instagram, is on TikTok, is on YouTube. But we need to spend a lot more of that focus off platform in 2025 to improve our results. The 5th point here is building a brand with organic and email. As you can tell, paid advertising now is really, really important. It's an essential component of any strategy. I love this quote. Marketing is like asking someone out on a date. Branding is the reason they say yes. So what do we do with our organic social media marketing if we are now primarily using paid to drive the outcomes that we want? Well, we think about marketing, it's a prompt, it's immediate, it's very transactional, and that's what ads tend to be. Whereas branding is investment. It's a gradual thing. It's very emotional in nature. Paid ads are the marketing. Paid ads is what's driving it, sometimes called performance marketing, where we're getting clicks and traffic and et cetera, et cetera. But when people get to your asset and they see your offer, or whether that's your lead magnet or your actual sales offer that you have, whether they say yes will be based on how well you've done to build your brand using your organic platforms. And we need to ideally just nail one social media platform. Just focus all your energy on building a really good, solid content engine on just Instagram or just YouTube or just TikTok, whatever chosen social media platform that you have, and use that to your advantage. And ideally, that one is aligned to the same platform that you're doing the advertising on. Because what happens when you run ads is that naturally, because you're paying to get in front of people, that's all that paid social media ads are. It's amplification of content. Naturally, more people are going to come to your organic profile. They're going to check you out. They're going to be like, who is this organization? What do they do? And if they come to your profile, they come to your Instagram profile and they see the content that you've got there, they're going to want to follow you. They might not be ready to take the action that you want yet, whether that's to buy something or fill in a form or whatever it is, but they need a bit more time. They want to build up a bit more trust. They want to see a bit more content from you. If you're using the two hand in hand, what you should see is you're getting results from your performance marketing, results from the ads that you're running, but you're also seeing an increase in your organic following and organic engagement. And this is when if you do this correctly over time and you continue to be consistent with your content that you're sharing on social media, you can start to get some really, really amazing results out of organic. I don't want to talk you out of it. Just again, if we're talking primarily here to small to medium-sized businesses, now you need to be using the two hand in hand. If you're running ads on Meta, you're trying to grow a TikTok account, you're not going to get that benefit. Ideally, the organic platform that you're trying to market on is aligned to the one that you're running ads on. And we're just narrowing our focus. We're being honest with ourselves about what our capabilities are and making sure that we execute well on a fewer number of platforms. That being said, there's some amazing AI tools like Opus Clip. If you can have what's called a long form video strategy, you record one long video. Let's just say every week you do a webinar, something like this. You can record this and you can chuck it into a tool like Opus Clip. And what it will do within 5 minutes is it will break up that long form video into 10 to 20 short form videos with captions. And it will rank each one of those short form videos in an order in which it thinks it will resonate on social media. It'll give it a virality ranking out of 100. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. And because we have this same format now across TikTok, across Shorts, across Instagram Reels, across Facebook Reels, you can push it out. You can just use them purely as a distribution platform. When I talk about narrowing the focus, I'm talking about really focusing on the engagement and the community building and that really being the platform that you go after. But it doesn't mean that you can't push it out relatively quickly across the other platforms as well. Because you're competing with creators, because you've got AI and everything like this, it's so important that our content strategy on organics is just less promotional now, more than ever. There's so many more ads now on social media, so many more ads than there ever used to be. It's really, really important that your organic strategy is all about just value adding, entertain, inspire, or educate on there. Don't be promotional because people are seeing so many ads. If all you do is just promote your business on your organic platform, people are just going to go, that's just another ad, and they're going to go straight past it. But if you're adding value, genuinely helping people, then you will find that your organic content resonates a bit better. What does a good organic content look like? We think about what's the content about, what's the topic, theme, pillar, what's the purpose of that content, the volume, the format, the source, the placements, and the platforms. This is the framework which we use to think about what's going to be our organic content strategy. And just finally, email. It's like social media, but better. If you think about email, you have subscribers. Social media, you have followers. Email, you have your list size. Social media, you have your number of followers. Email is like a social media post. Your open rate's like your organic reach. There's a lot of similarities between the two. The difference is that the average open rate on email is 19%. Plus the other 80-odd%, they may not open the email, but they may get an impression. They'll see the line in their inbox, even if they don't open it. Just think about it as your own social media platform that no one can ever take away from you. How do you go about implementing this? Well, option one is you can do it yourself. What we often see is that people do the wrong thing. They do it in the wrong order. They don't have anyone to turn to advice to guide them on this. They get lost in their own head a little bit, and it does impact confidence. Or what happens is they just avoid doing a lot of the social media marketing altogether, which is probably the worst thing, and they distract themselves with other operational challenges. The second is you can outsource to an agency. I often describe this as throwing darts in the dark. I'm not anti-agencies. People have accused me of that before. In fact, a large proportion, I think about 30% of our members are agencies. There are good agencies out there. It's just that if you're not in a position to understand what that agency is doing, it's very hard to recruit, manage, and retain that particular agency. And also it's quite expensive. You're looking at probably a minimum of $2,000 per month for someone that's kind of half decent. The higher quality ones go 5 to 10K and higher per month. And what typically happens when you go to these agencies is someone really, really clever, particularly larger agencies, older, will sell you in. And then once you've signed up to a 12, 24-month plan, they then hand you over to a junior. I'm not specifically talking about freelancers here. I'm talking about larger agencies. And for you as a small to medium-sized business, you're typically spending 80 to 100% of your budget, and they'll hand it over to someone who's younger, typically in their early 20s. And I'm not saying that people in their early 20s can't be effective. It's just that there really is no substitute for experience. And I think that when you're with these agencies, the other thing to understand is that they tend to focus on their own thing. If you go to a meta ad agency, they'll just do the ads and they won't care about the landing page or think about, oh, the ads aren't performing. Maybe it's got something to do with the landing page. Or you go to a content creator and they're not going to care about the ads, or you go to a web development agency and they're not going to care about the content that's going on the page. You get the idea. typically these agencies tend to focus on their own things. It's hard to get them to group things together. Again, there are plenty of wonderful people out there, but my point is that if you don't understand what these people are doing, we often get people coming to us once they've burnt through 3 or 4 of these agencies. And that's because they don't understand what the people are doing. So you can't possibly pick the right agency. You can't possibly manage those agencies or hold them accountable if you don't know or understand what they're doing. The third option is working with us. We kind of call this a done with you service, where what we do is we kind of work really, really closely with you to do this. It's not just about the implementation. It's not just about the learning. It's a combination of the two, where we teach you what it is that you need to know in totality, the complete picture, upskilling in kind of all the areas that we've discussed, but we also give you regular coaching to implement that. And you get that picture of how everything works together. And really, it's all about getting your ads firing, getting your emails connecting with people, saving money on those agencies and resources initially. You can save a lot of money in the initial stages by bringing it in-house. But then at a later stage, when your business has scaled, then being able to go out, recruit, manage, and hold accountable those people that you do hire to do the work, because you will eventually need to do that. But ultimately, you'll be able to know how much you should be paying, and it's usually less than what you are paying when you don't actually know what they're doing. Just a reminder, this is great for small businesses doing more than 10K per month, struggling to grow to sort of greater than 100K, inconsistent traffic and leads, organic socials going sideways. You're frustrated, stressed, short on time. You do believe in social media marketing, but can't afford those good agencies or staff at the moment, and you're lacking the skills or confidence to do it yourself. You may also be a medium-sized business that's stuck at around that kind of 1 to 2 mil revenue level. You do want to scale up to sort of that 5, 10 mil range. You're in a demanding role, expected to know everything. You've had some success with paid ads, but you know you can do better. You're feeling confused, overwhelmed, and unsure. Cash is tight. You know you need to invest it wisely. And you've been through this kind of trying a few different agencies. I just want to quickly talk about what it is that we do and what we offer. We have 3 plans here at SMC. We have a free plan, an SMC Pro, and now a mastermind plan. With our free plan, you get access to our community, you get access to these masterclasses, and also all of the masterclass recordings. If you haven't found that on our platform yet, dive into it, because there's tons of resource in there. Masterclasses for the last 2 years, you can learn about a whole bunch of different topics. Our SMC Pro plan, you get all that stuff in the free plan, but you also get a monthly live workshop. These are 6-hour workshops on different topics: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, strategy, influencer marketing, lots of great topics. If all you do each month is 1 live workshop, 6 hours of learning, that's a great month. Over the course of 12 months, your learning is going to accelerate by such a high volume. We sell one-off tickets to the workshops for $767. Just on the workshops alone, SMC Pro is incredible value. As part of that, you also get access to 18 on-demand courses. These are recordings of the workshops that we edit down. They're short, sharp. You can watch them, listen to them as a podcast, or read them. Plus, you get 3 weekly group coaching sessions. I do 2 of those sessions. And we have a meta ad expert, Sam King, who is able to do the other one as well to help you with your ads, but I can obviously help you with the ads as well. This is the implementation support. The idea here is that you join and we answer questions in the answer that people arrive. It's a fantastic learning environment. Everyone is in the same boat. There's no silly questions, and you can join up to 3 times a week. You only have to wait 48 hours to get help really with anything. It's such an incredible resource, and this is where we contextualize it to help you implement what you've learned. We now also have a mastermind. I opened this up 2 weeks ago, and I'm already at half capacity. It's crazy the demand that has come through from this. I've relented finally. I am taking on a small selection of clients where you will get one-on-one coaching with myself initially, potentially with some of our other coaches as well. This does have some minimum requirements in terms of your ad spend, the amount that you dedicate to ad spend, but also in terms of your revenue level at the moment. So it is approved businesses only. Please book a call with me. Just go to calendly.com/Jonathan Tanner if you want to have a chat about this with me. Otherwise, you can jump onto pro.socialmediacollege.com/start and join for the SMC Pro, which is the one you have there. That's Australian dollars, $397 per month. Or if you sign up to an annual plan, you have to pay 12 months in advance. But effectively, it comes down to $277 per month. Anyone who does join SMC Pro as well, I should call out, you'll get a one-on-one call with me as well. We're going to put in place an action plan for the next 12 months to help you grow. Thank you very much, and I'll see you at the next masterclass.